In this video, we use the Graves Yuan Excel tool to do some planning ahead of an election. Before viewing this video, I strongly suggest that you are familiar with the material in the two previous videos about the Graves Yuan tool. The first, which looked at the simple web-based application, and the second one, which introduced you to how to use the spreadsheet version of the tool. Here, I show you how to use the tool to make plans about your jurisdiction in general, rather than allocate resources to individual precincts. Take the following example. Suppose you are responsible for allocating poll books to precincts in a county, and the precincts range in size from as small as 120 voters on Election Day to as many as 3,000 voters. What is the size of precinct that needs only one poll book, that needs two poll books, etc.? The Graves Yuan spreadsheet tool can quickly answer a question like this. Let's continue thinking about this example, supposing that polls are open on Election Day for 12 hours. That means a precinct with 120 voters for the day would see an average of 10 voters each hour, and that a precinct with 3,000 voters during the day would see an average of 250 voters each hour. Let's go to the spreadsheet version of the tool. I assume you know how to download it and get it ready for analysis because you've watched the other two videos. The first thing I'm going to do is to set the number of precincts large enough to accommodate the simulation I'm going to run. In this case, I've already determined we'll need 25 precincts, so let's set it to that number. I'll type 25 in the upper left-hand corner there, and then press the Enter key. Now that we've seeded the spreadsheet with 25 precincts, I'm going to enter in arrival rates in the first column that reflect the range of precinct sizes in my county. As before, we're going to seed the spreadsheet with the number of voters per hour. In the first precinct, I'll enter in 10 to represent the smallest precinct in the county. In precinct 2, I'll enter in 20 to represent a slightly larger precinct. In precinct 3, I'll enter 30, and so on. I keep on with this pattern until I reach 250, which represents the largest precinct in the county. That gets us to precinct 25. You'll notice, by the way, that I took a shortcut to enter in the numbers I need in the first column. I'll leave it up to you to figure out how I did that. It's perfectly all right just to type in the numbers by hand. It won't take too long. Next, let's deal with the other input items. For the sake of this example, let's say that I've determined that it takes 40 seconds to check in to vote, which is 2/3 of a minute, or 0.67. I'll skip over the number of voting stations for the moment and go to the box where we set the maximum wait time target. I want to keep wait times down to 30 minutes, and I have a goal to meet this expectation at least 95% of the time. Let's now turn to the current number of voting stations, or poll books. Rather than enter in the actual number of poll books we know we will allocate, I'm going to enter in a number I suspect is too large, in this case 10. Next, I copy these fixed parameters to the rest of the input table. When I click on the Calculate button, the output is displayed in the right-hand columns. Take a look at the far right-hand column, the very last one, which is labeled Number of Voting Stations Required to Meet Service Level. This is the actual number of poll books we would need in the precincts in order to meet these service requirements. You'll notice that in each case, the number is quite a bit less than 10. It tells us that in precincts up to around 80 voters per hour, which is 960 voters during the day, we can get by with only one poll book. But for precincts that have between 90 and 170 voters per hour, which is a bit over 2,000 voters for the day, we need two poll books to meet our performance requirements. And for precincts with over 180 voters per hour, we need at least 3 poll books to meet performance expectations. We can confirm this now by just copying the numbers from the very last column back over into the input side, where it says current number of voting stations. Let's paste those numbers right there, click Calculate, and we see on the output side that it's confirmed that this allocation of check-in stations would meet our performance criteria. I encourage you to play around with the spreadsheet version of the Graves Yuan tool in this way. As you do, you will discover that it is a quite powerful instrument for helping you understand the line dynamics in your polling places.